Previously on Talk That Talk.
Mr. Kelvin was my drum instructor, like real talk. He was my first drum instructor. Guy saved my life, put some drumsticks in my hand after I got expelled from the school. So the whole point is, with me, I took it upon myself. I was walking to his house for private lessons. You know what I'm saying? Because my band director was like, "Hey, real talk, the type of environment we got in the school right now, I can't teach you how to read." That's his exact words. And when I got to PV, I ended up learning my rudiments from him. Honestly, struggling through my audition, and then I hooked up with people like Larry, and he's on the Chicken, Justin, my other Crab brothers, to teach me because I wanted to. I was a music major, right? I was that dude that was in that remedial music class with the kids that need a humanities grade that's back here like, okay, so this is one. I was that dude. So I'm not about to sit up here and like I was just super cold. Nah, bro. I was the one that was struggling to learn how to read, that made that, but I knew this was my calling and I had to do what I had to do. Now, with that being said, the reason why we're a lot behind on against our counterparts is because of what we just said. And I always talk about infrastructure on the show. We don't even have real percussion instructors for the most part at the high schools. When I student taught, I student taught at in a county called Fort Bend. And I'm not going to say the school name, but let me just say this. The staff had 7 people. 7. Guess how much their percussion staff was? 4 people. We had two front ensemble techs, right? They had basically we're talking David Miles. So they had 2 front ensemble techs. They had a percussion instructor. They had a battery tech, and then they had parent volunteers that would come to the school that marched for like Oklahoma. One guy had marched for the cadets, and his son was in that line. So when we even talking about economic aspect, they already beaten us from that. I teach at a school called Worthing, and in Houston, when it comes to predominantly Black schools, it's a revolving door for band directors. So how you gonna have a percussion instructor? If you have 2 people on staff, you're lucky, right? So now they expect you to make $1 out of 15 cents. Now you got to build the band. But I got to build the band. And let's be honest, most of the time our kids be like, well, I want to play drums. It's kind of like we were saying earlier, playing drums is quote unquote masculine, or it's a connection to our culture, right? So we get that. But here's the issue though. I got to keep his attention quick. So I got to teach by rote to keep him. But yet and still, I know if he's trying to go to college, I got to teach him music. Now, hopefully I could get him in the class, because we're not even going to talk about scheduling issues, right? So it's so many aspects of why we're behind that even outside of the writing cadences now, the writing cadences portion, it's the university's fault. We're just going to keep it a buck. That's the university's fault, because that's how you lose stuff over time. And that's when you have old heads be like, man, they ain't play that part right like we was back in 9-4, bro. Well, how? You didn't write it. So I see the best of both. I see both sides. But writing music is important. But again, we're not gonna say no names, but a lot of colleges don't have percussion instructors that's really teaching. And they be sitting in them seats till they vital, and they can't get nobody new in there until they die. So if we just gonna keep it a buck, it's a blessing, like Mr. Ricardo and Mr. Kelvin, that they're pushing their alma maters and their drum lines because they understand the tradition. They got somebody to continue the tradition, and they're writing music. But how many people, real talk, somebody standing in front of that line that possibly don't know? They don't know the culture. They don't know the school. They don't know the history. They don't know the background. They don't know the cadences, and the cadences wasn't written down. So how you expect them to survive? That's all. That's why we behind. So you got aspects like me and Larry, and like we like Chino Hills. Chino Hills is basically the feeder pattern of the Blue Devils. And every year what they do, it's a nothing but a feeder pattern, and they send their kids to the Blue Devils. Most of their warm-ups is the same thing, the Blue Devils. I mean, I've seen Scott Johnson in their parking lot. It's a different system. So that's our problem. Our problem is we're behind because our systems are not the same.